Ross here, Thomas Classic and Modern. Welcome back to the channel. I have just spent best part of my Sunday afternoon editing our latest video, which is video on ball joints and how we go about doing them. Unfortunately, it's coming far too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the video up into a series of 3 separate little videos. So a couple of intros from me like this, showing you how we remove the ball joints from the car from the hub. B, how we prep the ball joints so that they are ready to be fitted to the hubs. And then obviously the adjustment procedure as well. So there'll be 3 short, sharp videos coming out very soon. I'll put them all together as a playlist, but I will also post the full length video, which if you've got 49 minutes to kill, feel free to watch it in one hit. But other than that, let's crack on. Okay, so before I go removing my lovely MB Racing split rim, you can probably hear that's the play in the ball joint that we need to address. So if you don't know how to check your ball joints, that is it. 12 and 6. And what you want to do is you don't want to do this and pull and push. That's checking for a wheel bearing. What you want to do is sort of lift. It's a little bit of a knack, but if you pull and push, there's nothing there, look. Yeah? So there's no play in the wheel bearing at all whatsoever. But if you get to lift it, that's when you can get the play in the ball joint. And in this instance, it's in the top ball joint. So that's what we'll crack on with first of all. So let's get the wheel off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to crack the track rod end off, and then I will take the brake caliper off and get that hung up out of the way. Wind the nut back on there a touch. In this case it's a nylock, so don't wind it up so that the nylock actually locates, because otherwise you'll struggle to get it back off. Another thing that is really imperative if you're going to do any work on your Mini, get a good quality ball joint splitter. makes very light work of things. And there we go. That's that off. While you're there, a good point to note is checking the steering rack. As you can see, that is quite stiff. Yeah, no problem with that whatsoever. Normally, if you take one off and it's badly worn, as soon as you take that off, it'll just dunk and flop down. So that's a good indication that that steering rack is in fine fettle. So we shall whip off the brake caliper now and get that out of the way. And these alloy brake calipers are the early style, as I call them, in so much as they've got a spacer between the actual hub and the caliper itself. Do not let the brake caliper dangle. There go the spacers. Dangle. There's one of them. Little aluminium spacers. Now they are built in on the later versions. Don't ever let the caliper dangle on the brake hose. Just hook that up there, out of the way. And that's that off. Find the other spacer, put those safe. You will probably see just underneath why we're replacing the selector shaft seal. A couple of leaks from there, to be expected. She's an old girl now, she needs a bit of love. We all need a bit of love when we get older. So next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to undo this large nut in the center of the CV, and I'm going to take the brake disc assembly off out of the way. Lift that up and hopefully, and away she comes. And there we go, that's one hub off, and as you can see, that's our sloppy ball joint. Bottom one, lovely. Yeah, nothing wrong with that one at all. But top one definitely needs attention. Right, so slightly different tact from my part now. Benefit for you and kind of a benefit for me really. As I said before, this bottom ball joint is okay, nothing much wrong with that in all honesty, and there was no play in it. Top one is knackered. For purposes of the video, and because it's something that people have asked for before, I am going to replace these ball joints, and I'm going to show you how I do them and how you can make your ball joints last, like these have, pretty much 19 years. Lots of people give ball joints bad press. They can't figure out how to do them. I've seen people put shims in wrong places and all sorts of problems. So what I'm going to do is I am going to strip these ball joints off this hub. I'll run through how you do that first of all, just in case you don't know. I'm also going to knock front wheel bearings out of this. Again, it hasn't had a set for a while. It gives me an opportunity. I've got the parts here. I've budgeted for the parts. It's my own car. I've already bought the parts. So from that point of view, I'm going to do it. And if you guys come along for a ride and you learn something about doing this at the same time, all the better. But yes, for those of you who will say there was no need to replace any of that, no, you're probably right. There probably wasn't. But guess what? I can. I've budgeted my time. I've budgeted my money. I bought all the parts. I'm going to do it anyway. So I guess realistically, my waste of time, effort, and money is to your advantage. So I'm going to box on and strip these ball joints out first of all, and then we'll give all of this a good clean up and a lick of paint and everything, as we usually do when we're always doing these anyway. So you need to get it in a decent vise, not a Black & Decker Workmate or something like that, or rolling around on a gravel floor. I know some of you, that is all you have to hand, and more power to you for doing it like that. But if you're going to get involved in any work like this, you need a vise, a decent bench, etc. Wipe that off so we can see what we're up against. So this is what the ball joint assembly looks like underneath all the grease, grime and rubbish. So you have the lock tab, the domed nut and the pin. So lock tab now we need to knock over, get that back out of the way, and then we'll strip this off. Obviously, if you were adjusting these, you would need to be reusing this lock tab. So don't go all gung-ho. Even though I'm not reusing this lock tab, I'm still doing it in a way that it could be reused if that's what I was doing. Okay. Tap it all back flat out of the way. Then you need an 1.5 inch AF decent socket. This is an impact socket. So you then need to get the socket on. So have to make sure that you get the pin in the belly of the socket, otherwise it won't go on fully. There we go. And then we shall wind off the cup, and what you have is the pin, the cup in there. I'll show you in more detail when we get into it. And in there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 shims. So plenty of room in that ball joint for adjustment, because adjustment on that would simply be probably removing one of the thinner shims, retorquing it up and rechecking it. But as I say, for purposes of this video, I am going to replace them anyway. So I'm going to just strip the bottom one off, and we'll come back to it then once they're all apart. Okay, so there we go. That's both of those ball joints off that hub. Quick point to note. Something you should always check for when you're doing these. Not so much on the top one, but I need to clean that out anyway. You'll notice I've taken the lock tabs off now, and to do so you need to take the grease nipples out. Again, we always replace those as a matter of course. You need to check that there is no damage in and around where the seat fits in there. So as you can see, this one looks perfect. I will just spin it around a second, because it's usually much more prevalent on the bottom ball joint, which is the ball joint where the spring fits. And what tends to happen is people line them up, put the spring in place, and then forget to put the seat in properly, and it ends up binding up. So again, you get the damage around its seat area, where the seat itself around here. You might be able to pick this up in video, you might not. What happens is this seat should sit in the slot, and I've seen people when they put this seat in and they put the cup on, that seat is sort of off center, something like that, and it damages all of that outer rim. Basically, that means the hub is technically scrap. But these are all good. No problem with that. Okay, so that is the main part of everything stripped. We now have the hub over there drying. That's had a little coat of etch primer and satin black. Okay, so there we go. That is part A, part 1, first section of the lengthy ball joint video. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you took something from it and it kind of made sense. As I say, the full video is out there in one length if you just want to watch that, by all means. Other than that, please join us for the second part of this video, where we'll get on with how we prepare our ball joints ready for them to be fitted. As with most things nowadays, do not just take things out of a packet and fit them, and this is the way that you can avoid problems in the future. So look out for the second part of the video. We'll see you very soon.